Mad Party is the best budget deck right now, and I'm going to be showing off the deck list as well as a bunch of matches to really demonstrate and hammer home why this deck is so cheap and so effective. I'm that Scottish nerd, and I bring you Pokemon TCG content multiple times a week, so be sure to subscribe down below if you do find this video useful. So here we are, this is my list for Mad Party. I've been refining the Mad Party deck for quite a while now, so I'm very familiar with it. And we'll go over the reasons that it is so budget friendly. So the main points of it, the main attackers of course being the Mad Party Pokemon. And these cards have been printed multiple times. They came out in the Darkness Ablaze set, but they're also reprinted as shiny artworks in the Shining Fates set that came out a couple of months ago as a nice special collector's set. And as you can see here, we get some awesome artwork on all of these Mad Party Pokemon, and being printed twice, as well as also being printed as a promo card with another alternate artwork, makes it so that these cards are extremely accessible and readily available if you want to build decks. In addition to that, we have the other cards that are in the deck, like the Mew for example. This is a promo card that you can get. It's also in a set, and you can get it in a theme deck as well, so super available card, which is very necessary in the meta right now. And then going across to other things like the Dedenne GX, this came from the Trainer's Toolkit, which is a very affordable and beginner friendly product which gives you a bunch of excellent GX cards like the Dedenne here, as well as very meta trainer cards that every deck should be using. And then of course it was also in the Pokemon Online ladder for the last season, so you will most likely already have two of these in your collection if you played last season. And then going across to the Crobat V here, which is necessary to draw cards just like the Denny's. Denny change ability draws your cards and discard your hand. Crobat just draws your cards, so we only need one of these. But it was printed in Darkness Ablaze, and it was also reprinted as a promo and in the Shining Fate set. So very much Shining Fates being an awesome reprint set as well as a collector's set. But let's get into the deck profile itself, the main attackers being these Mad Partiers, as the Mad Party attack deals 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in the discard pile with this Mad Party attack. And considering how many Mad Party Pokemon there are available, there's a total of 16, so we can do up to 300 damage because we do have to have a Mad Party Pokemon in play to be attacking with after all. And we also have the added consistency of these Poltergeists having the T-Break attack, which allows you to discard a Mad Party Pokemon from your hand and also draw 2 cards. So fantastic synergy as you're discarding and deal more damage, and also being able to draw cards. Also being Psychic typing, you're going to be hitting weakness against other big decks in the meta, things like the Urshifu VMAX as well as Mew and Mewtwo GX tag team, so very good there, as well as overall being an excellent one prize attacking deck against some of these big Pokemon like the GXs and the VMAXs, which give up 2 or 3 prize cards at a time, so you're consistently going to be winning games in a matter of 3 or 4 turns really. The Poltergeist, as I showed off, is the main attacker, along with the Bunnelby here, as they both only require 2 colourless energy to attack with. So the Bunnelby, you can use a twin energy, and the Poltergeist, you can use twin energy or triple acceleration energy. As you can see here, we have both of these available in order to cover attacks, but we do also need the other Mad Party Pokemon like Mr. Rhyme. We don't attack with this though, as we don't even play the Mr. Mime, and the attack cost isn't very pleasant, along with the Dedenne having a Psychic and 2 energy attack cost is not very useful to us, so we just end up discarding this and not attacking with it at all. Then we also have a copy of Mew. Like I mentioned, we need this to cover any decks that spread damage, mostly the Urshifu VMAXs. And then we also have our Primate Wisdom Oranguru, in case we want to protect some of our energy before we discard our hand, along with a copy of Oricorio GX in order to use its Dance of Tribute ability. After a Pokemon gets knocked out, we can draw 3 cards with it. So the deck is super consistent, like I mentioned. We have so many copies of Ball Search cards, 12 in total. We have Quick Ball, Level Ball, and a Great Ball in order to search out all of our Pokemon. we have a copy of Ordinary Rod here in case we want to shuffle back 2 Pokemon in order to keep attacking. We even have a Pal Pad as well to shuffle back 2 supporter cards. Mostly this is going to be boss's orders, as we typically discard a lot of our deck very early on, and then when we get down to a very small deck, typically we're going to have a handful of cards left, and we can use the Pal Pad to shuffle in boss's orders and guarantee that we're going to be drawing into those to get the game and the victory. We also have our Giovanni's Exile here. This is a card which allows you to discard 2 of your benched Pokemon, so once you play down your Crobats and your Dedenne, you can then get rid of those as well with this Giovanni's Exile, and they're no longer going to be a liability for you, as this is a 1 prize attacking deck and you don't want any liability Pokemon in play. Finally here we have our Chaotic Swell just to counter our opponent's Stadium. I do like having this as it's great against a bunch of decks which really rely on Stadiums, like the Fire decks using the Giant Hearth and anything else like Power Plant that you want to get rid of and be able to use the Dedenne. Then Chaotic Swell comes in really clutch there. And then we have a bunch of Air Balloons so that we have free movement on our Pokemon. Sometimes we can get a Dedenne or an Oranguru stuck in the active, so great there. And of course we have our 4 copies of Professor's Research, as well as 2 copies of Marnie, just to shuffle our hand into the deck when it gets like a massive hand but a small deck. We want to refresh that, don't deck out, and also the fact that we want to protect our energy if we do have a bunch of energy in our hand, and we just want to shuffle those in and make sure that everything is in order and we're not discarding them all with research. So like I said, very consistent deck, super effective as you're only giving up 1 prize card at a time and you're typically taking 2 or 3 prize cards on your opponent. And as you'll see in the matches coming up here, it is super good in this meta as you're able to hit the right numbers consistently. So let's get into those games. I'll show off just how good this budget deck is, and if you find this video useful, be sure to give it a like down below, and let's get into these matches. Let's get right into our first game here. We have a pretty sweet opening as we do have a bunch of Pokemon and Search, as well as that Professor's Research to start us off. So pretty good opening, just a bit unfortunate that we are going first, as this would have been an amazing opening hand for going second, since we do have the Research and all of these Pokemon available. But I'm just going to go ahead and get our teacups down nice and early, since we do need those to get our stage 1 Poltergeist into play. And I think I'll hold on to the Chaotic Swell for now, just in case my opponent puts down a Stadium on their opening turn here, and if they do, then we can certainly put the Chaotic Swell down, but if not, then we are still going to be playing it before our Professor's Research. We just want to get that added value if they do put down a Stadium. So let's see what they're going to be playing. It is going to be an Electric Lightning deck, since they do have the Tapu Koko, and they go and search for the Bolton Fee. They are also using the Cherish Ball, so that tells me that it's probably Pikarom, which they do grab, or the alternative is Mewtwo, which they could potentially be playing in the deck as well. But you don't really want to be putting the Mewtwo and Mew tag team into play if we're going to be hitting it for a weakness, so that's not going to be good. But we see here my opponent is just using the Bolton to get some additional energy into play. Really unfortunate that we top deck our Giovanni, as that's a great card to make use of throughout this game, as I mentioned earlier. So we definitely want to potentially hold on to that, but I mean, there's not really any choice. We have to use our Professor's Research here, and I will just get rid of all of these cards. And hopefully we draw into the energy that we need, which is the Twin, which is awesome. We do get that, and we do draw into a bunch of supporters, which is a bit irritating. We do have a Quick Ball that we can make use of. We'll discard one of those Professor Researches, and we will get ourselves the Dedenne GX here. Now we just want to check our deck. We don't have the Mew, which is going to be a little bit concerning, but we can hopefully get into that off of the prizes. And we're really just digging for a couple of extra Pokemon here that we can make use of. We're going to grab another Poltergeist just so that we can discard it, and we might as well put the Air Balloon into play, and we'll go for the Daddy Change to discard this hand. Like I said, losing a bunch of supporter cards isn't ideal, but we do get into a bunch of more Pokemon search, which is ideal, definitely what we're looking for here. So we'll quick ball away this Mr. Rhyme and get ourselves the Dedenne, and then we can go, actually we'll level ball first before we draw the cards, because that way we can get ourselves another Poltergeist here, and we can have a backup one in case the one that we have does get knocked out. And then we can go for the T-Break, discarding the Dedenne and draw an additional 2 cards. We do get into another level ball, so we'll evolve our Poltergeist and make use of a level ball to go and grab another Mad Party Pokemon to join us here and get another Dedenne that we can discard with T-Break, drawing another 2 cards, getting into another Great Ball, even more search here. I think we will just grab the little Sinistea here so that we can have a third Poltergeist. Seems reasonable, no reason not to at this point. And we do have another air balloon, but we'll hold on to that one. We'll just go for the attack. Mad Party, unfortunately, don't get the knockout. We are only dealing 120 damage, but that was a very strong turn. As you've seen, we had a lot of Pokemon search that we got through there, and we did discard a couple of Mad Party Pokemon. Not the most amount of Mad Partiers discarded, certainly would have liked more with the amount of search that we had there, but it was definitely a good start overall. My opponent does just go and attach to the active Boltund and get the knockout that way, so we'll promote one of our Poltergeists here so that we can get a knockout, and we will just be attaching the triples. We really want to make use of this boss's orders actually, but considering we can't quite get the knockout, we're not doing a huge amount of damage just yet. I'm going to hold on to that, and my opponent does have quite a large hand size, so I will actually make use of the Marnie here, and we'll put the air balloon down, I think, put it onto the Dedenne, and go for a Marnie. Don't want to use the research, just as we would be discarding the energy as well as the boss's orders there, so go for the Marnie instead. We do get into double Mr. Rhyme, which is excellent, and we also have the Oricorio GX if we want to draw even more cards with that, but getting rid of the Mr. Rhymes with our T-Breaks here is going to be good for dealing that extra damage. We even get into a couple of Quick Balls and a Great Ball. Let's see what we get off the Great Ball first. Get a Mr. Rhyme, so we can discard that again. Got rid of 3 Mr. Rhymes in that turn, which is great, and we can get our last Dedenne here to discard with our other Quick Ball and get ourselves the Bunnelby here. Get one of those into play, just in case my opponent has a Marnie, then we do want the Bunnelby down, and we'll hold off on putting the Oricorio into play in case my opponent goes for the Tag Bolt GX, which does deal damage onto our bench, so we want to be holding on to the Bunnelby, or not the Bunnelby, the Oricorio for now, and we are dealing 220 damage, so we only have to discard one more Mad Party Pokemon if we want to get a knockout on this Pikarom right here. That's easily done since we do have our T-Breaks that we can use to discard our Bunnelby, or we can even discard our other Poltergeist, but I think we will be evolving into it so that we have plenty of attackers here. My opponent is getting another Boltund, so they are going to force us to take all of our prize cards, as we will take 3 here on the Pikachu and Zekrom, and we'll be forced to take another knockout after that. But since my opponent does have such big attackers that give up so many prizes, it's going to be very easy for us to win this game, I reckon. And they are going to be using the Tag Bolt coming up on this following turn, since they are putting all of the energy onto themselves. But even then, they will only be taking 3 prizes, 2 on the Dedenne and then 1 on our active, so I'm going to promote our Poltergeist here. We do have enough damage available to get the knockout, so we don't have to discard any more attackers. And we did just top deck the triple acceleration energy here, so we can definitely put that onto our active so we can get the knockout. And we can even put down a Bunnelby if we want to, but there's not really anything else that we want to do with this hand, so I'm just going to go with the attack and get the knockout. So like I said, we're getting the knockout. My opponent's not going to be using that Tag Bolt and get multiple prize knockouts, but if they were, then that would have put them in a bit of an even board state with us. But seeing as we're already dealing so much damage, I'm really not sure why they chose to put all of those energies onto their active. Definitely could have put it onto the Boltund and given themselves another knockout, but yeah, it's going to be a very easy game for us, and there's the concession from my opponent because there's no way that they can possibly win, and really shows off just how powerful this deck is against multi-prize decks or Roblox decks, whatever you want to call them. Let's get into the next game here. Getting into our second game here, let's see what we're up against. We have a Buzzwole and Pheromosa tag team. This is not a Pokemon that you see all that often at all, really. So we'll start off by using our Primate Wisdom, putting our energy back on top of our deck. We just get into another Professor's Research, so we're going to have to pass it over to my opponent. Now they're going to have a very good start, as they're able to take out our Sinistea. It only has 30 HP, and as you can see, the Pheromosa and Buzzwole does do 30 damage to the active and 30 damage to one of our benched Pokemon, so that's a very efficient attack against Mad Party, considering we don't have the Mew down just yet and can't make use of it. But looks like my opponent does actually miss the Grass energy, so they're having to attach a Capture energy onto the Rowlet and Alolan Exeggutor tag team here in order to search out a basic Pokemon with that Capture energy. They're also playing a Tag Call engine here, so they're able to get a whole bunch of tag team cards out of their deck, and that's going to allow them to easily thin out as well as just keep their consistency up. Getting themselves a giant hearth? What? This is very bizarre considering that they're playing grass Pokemon, but they have fire energy. I'm not quite sure what my opponent is playing at this point. Also, they have the Grookey here, which is going to be evolving into a Rillaboom. So yeah, here we can see my opponent using the Alolan Exeggutor and Rowlet for super growth to evolve into that Rillaboom straight away with that attack, but really questioning why they're using Giant Hearth and a fire energy. So it's going to be a very bizarre deck, and interested to see what they come up with here. We're going to be really digging for an Air Balloon to get this Oranguru out of the active spot, and I'm also going to be using the Professor's Research here to discard these to Mr. Rhyme, hopefully get into a bunch more Pokemon that we can discard as well, and it certainly looks like that's going to be the case. We've got a Quick Ball as well as the Dedennes, so we can grab ourselves the Dedenne GX and use the Daddy Change ability here to get rid of the rest of these Pokemon. Also get the Level Ball to grab ourselves another Pokemon out of the deck, just another Dedenne I think, and that's going to be 4 more Mad Partiers going into the discard pile. Like I said, really digging for the Air Balloon since we do have the energy. We get the Oricorio, there's the Air Balloon as well, which is perfect, and we even have a T-Break that we can make use of to discard the other Dedenne that we just drew into. We do get the Mew, which is great, that can cover us against that Pheromosa and Buzzwole, and we do also have another Sinistea that we can get down. My opponent gives us a shocked face. They're so shocked that our deck is drawing so well, and that is really the power of this deck and being able to be so consistent with it. I think I will actually use the Giant Hearth here as well to get rid of my Bunnelby, since we do have the ability to discard a card. We do still have a Bunnelby in the deck. We're not able to search out any fire energy, of course, since we don't play any, but allowing us to discard an extra Pokemon is certainly worthwhile, and I do want to get that extra damage in, since we are dealing a total of 180 damage, and you do have to be wary against these decks because, as you can see, my opponent is playing Mallow and Lana, so they are going to be healing off 120 of that damage, and you really need to be doing as much damage as possible against this grass deck. So let's see what my opponent comes up with. They're going to be using the Rillaboom to get 2 grass energy out of their deck and attach those onto their Rowlet and Alolan Exeggutor. They're also going to be manually attaching the grass onto their Pheromosa Buzzwole, but just retreating back into the tag team, Rowlet and Alolan Exeggutor tag team. Most likely going to be getting a knockout here with their secondary attack, dealing 150 damage, and they also get to heal 30 damage from themselves. They're active. which again, that huge amount of healing is going to be a massive setback for us, making it much harder to get a knockout, and we're going to have to find a way to discard even more Pokemon. We do have the Oricorio at least, so we can draw a bunch of cards right here. And we do get into a Quick Ball, which we can make use of, I'm sure. I'm going to be attaching the Twin Energy onto the Sinistea in the hopes that we can get into the Poltergeist in order to get an attack off here. And we will go with the Marnie, I think, just so that we can reset my opponent's hand and bring it down a little bit, since they were building it up a little, or trying to at least. We do get into the Poltergeist here as well, and we even get the Mr. Rhyme that we can discard for additional damage. So I'm certainly going to do that and then see what we draw into. Just some more energy, which is reasonable. And we have the Oricorio to draw an additional 3 cards. We get the Level Ball and Great Ball. Certainly going to be using these as we can get ourselves a Sinistea to get into play. And hopefully we get a Pokemon off of this Great Ball. Nice, we do. We get the Mr. Rhyme, which I'm definitely going to grab to discard with that giant hearth once again. Have to fail it, of course, because we can't get any fire energy, but getting the extra discard is very much welcome. We need to get into another Great Ball, which I'll hold on to for now, as we can't play down any more Pokemon, and we can just retreat into our Poltergeist and announce a Mad Party, dealing 240 damage and getting the knockout on my opponent nice and easily. A huge amount of damage just on our second or third turn of the game. My opponent gives us another little sad face here, as they know that they're going to struggle against our deck. They have only taken 1 prize card after all, and their only attacker here is not going to be dealing a huge amount of damage. They do have a nice GX attack, which allows them to take an additional prize card when they get a knockout. If they have the necessary energy, they can even take even more prize cards, but they do only deal 50 damage with that attack, so they would need some way of increasing that damage, or just having to use the first attack there first of all to deal the initial 30 damage before dealing the 50 with the GX attack. It looks like they're going to be attaching energy manually and now also using the Rillaboom, but well, perhaps not. They are failing the Rillaboom from those things, and they are just going to be hitting us for 50 using that GX attack, which does not get them the knockout, and now they're going to be conceding, as there's no way that they're going to be able to win that. We can definitely discard more Mad Party Pokemon there, as well as having the air balloon in our hand that we could have used to retreat and get a knockout and win the game right there. So another easy victory for Mad Party. Let's get into one last game and see what we can make happen. Alright, third game, lucky. Let's see if my opponent concedes again, or if we can actually finish out this game. I mean, they kind of conceded in the first game, but that's because we're literally about to win. But yeah, let's see what we can make happen once again. We have the Quick Ball here. I was going to grab the Oranguru, but it looks like we've actually prized him, which is a little annoying because I'm going to have to get rid of this Super Rod, or not Super Rod, the other one, Ordinary Rod. And yeah, let's just grab a couple of Pokemon here. We have the Great Ball. Oh nice, we get the Mr. Rhyme that we can discard. Definitely want to get rid of Mr. Rhyme first, along with the Dedenne, the Psychic Dedenne, since you aren't going to be able to make use of those. So you definitely want to ditch them as quickly as possible. We get another Great Ball here. We get the Poltergeist, which I'll certainly take. And we have the Mew, which I'll hold off for now. We don't quite know what my opponent is playing yet, since they've only got the Jirachi in the active, which most likely tells me that it is the Urshifu VMAX, and right as I say that, they put the Urshifu V down. So it is indeed the VMAX, the not the single, the Rapid Strike one that does a bunch of damage and can snipe damage as well, so we definitely want to be using the Mew for sure. It's a bit unfortunate that my opponent is able to get a knockout here with the Strafe. They actually get to deal enough damage to knock us out and move themselves onto the bench, which kind of sucks because we're going to be forced into our Poltergeist earlier than I would have liked, but we could hopefully take advantage of a weakness here, since the VMAX is weak to Psychic, of course, and the Mew should protect us enough against those sniping attacks. There's a Marnie though, so we're going to be losing our pretty amazing hand that we had. We had the Energy Mew and the Dedenne or Research, either one. It's a very good hand. We do get into a Poltergeist and Research though, which is very good draws. And my opponent is going to be getting the knockout here, as I mentioned, going back into the Jirachi with Stellar Wish. So we can at least knock that out, but we're going to be struggling on these coming turns since my opponent has taken that early lead here. And we really need to find that Mew as quickly as possible. Otherwise my opponent is going to be taking multiple prize cards here. We don't get into it and we actually get into an extremely dead hand. We at least have T-Break to discard our Dedenne and get an additional 2 cards off the top, but we're going to draw into another Energy here and another Dedenne, so not good at all. We can at least get a knockout here. We're currently dealing 140 damage, which is going to be enough to get a knockout on a Urshifu V with the weakness. But if they have the VMAX here as well as a Rapid Strike Energy, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and they do have that Rapid Strike Energy because they're going to be able to use the sniping attack, dealing 120 damage to 2 of our Pokemon, and that will allow them to take out both our Poltergeist and our Sinistea at the same time, which is definitely going to be detrimental here. There's the Pokemon communication, putting the Mew back into their deck and grabbing the VMAX, of course. So we're going to be in a bit of a situation, as we're going to be left with a Dedenne, or perhaps not, where they're going to be doing it to the active instead. I guess, no, it definitely does say discard all energy 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. It doesn't have to be the active, so very interesting that my opponent chose to take the active out. We do have the Poltergeist in our hand that we can make use of, and we do have the triple. Even got the Marnie here, so we're not out of the game just yet, but it's certainly going to be difficult over these couple of turns. There's an Oricorio that I'm definitely not going to be putting into play, as that would loses the game if we did that, so definitely want to avoid it. We have a bunch of Poltergeist but no more Sinistea, so we're going to be focusing on our Bunnelby. We did have to discard our Rod. Yeah, there's the ordinary Rod. We don't have any more Sinistea, so I guess, yeah, we've prized one of them, which kind of sucks. But we'll put down some of these cards just so it's out of the hand. We'll hold on to an air balloon just in case we need it later, and go for the Marnie here to reset my opponent's hand and see what we get into. We do run to the Mew, which is very nice. And we get another level ball that we can make use of if we want to, but I think we'll hold this hand for now. It's not too terrible, and we can just use our Mad Party for the knockout, dealing 360 damage, which is more than enough to get a knockout on the Urshifu VMAX. And we get to take 3 prize cards here, see if we can get into the Sinistea. Unfortunately not, but we do get the Boss's Orders as the last prize card here. So if my opponent wants to try and stall out and just keep this Jirachi in the active, then we have the Boss's Orders to go ahead and dig for the knockout and close out this game here. They are going to be putting the Jirachi into play, which does cover their weakness, but at the same time we can just Boss's Orders up the Jirachi itself, since it does only have 160 HP here, as you can see, and we're doing more than that for sure, so we should be fine to get a knockout. Yeah, we have all of our Dedennes as well as our Mr. Rhymes. We have a Poltergeist. Yeah, we're definitely set to get a knockout on that Jirachi GX over there, so we're going to be digging for that. Let's see if my opponent gets the knockout here. We're going to get hit with a Marnie again, shuffling our hands into the bottom of our deck. It's going to help us get towards the energy here, and my opponent gives us the Boss's Orders off of the top with the Marnie. Gives us exactly what we need to close out the game. They go for the Boss's Orders as well with the Stellar Wish, but it's not going to be enough since they already used their Marnie, the support of return. So now we're going to be good to go, but oh, we're not. Oh man, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have the triple, but my opponent is knocking us out. I wasn't sure if they were going to get the knockout on Poltergeist 2. And we're going to be forced into a Bunnelby here. So now we need a twin energy, We top deck the Great Ball. Can we get it to Denny? We don't. We just have the the Poltergeist. My bad. And we're going to be completely stuck here. My opponent could just win the game outright. We have the boss's orders that we do have to go for here, just to try and stall for a turn. So I'm going to bring up the Crobat, and we're going to put down another Bunnelby, pass it over to my opponent. If they have the switch or an air balloon, anything like that, then they have the game. But unfortunately we just drew it into the wrong energy off of that Marnie. The Marnie completely killed us. Yeah, I got ahead of myself there. I was definitely thinking that our Poltergeist was going to survive, but it did not, and my opponent is able to close out this game as they have the escape rope, and that's going to allow them to switch into the active and get the knockout. Definitely a winnable game, but those Marnies that my opponent played were just detrimental and completely crippled our hand, which is really unfortunate to see. Other than that though, it should be a very easy game as well, and we almost had a clean sweep, winning every game, but really shows the power of this deck and the effectiveness that you can build a budget deck which is top tier within the meta right now. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.